I think there must be something wrong with me. Christmas is coming, but I'm not happy. I don't feel the way I'm supposed to feel. DJ Earworm's United States of Pop just doesn't hit like it did in 2012. I like getting presents, going into the red on my debit card, and making sure my cats don't eat tinsel, but I'm still not happy. I always end up feeling depressed. At least I can unwind with one of my favorite American pastimes, football. Oh! Dashers, Donners, Dancers, Prancers. It's the holiday season, and whether you consider yourself a Scrooge, a Cindy Lou Who, a Neil from the Santa Claus,
no weenie whistle.
Chances are you have seen a Christmas movie. The Lifetime and Hallmark networks surely do everything in their power to make sure of that. I'd actually go as far as to say that there are too many Christmas movies, especially considering that Christmas is by no means the only holiday celebrated in winter. And I would actually go even further to say that most Christmas movies are bad. There are more planes, trains, and Christmas trees than there are It's a Wonderful Life. More Operation Christmas drops than Batman Returns.
To see our military making that kind of difference in people's lives, that was what Christmas should look like.
I've got a whole laundry list of movies I love watching around this time of year, ones I consider essential viewing as part of my growing traditions, and ones I could probably dedicate entirely separate videos to. But there's one that manages to stand the test of time despite being nearly 60 years old. One that my mother hates so much that anytime one of the songs plays on our local Christmas radio, she switches the station. And while there are plenty of Christmas classics that still hold up from the 40s to the 70s, there really is something different about a Charlie Brown Christmas. A Charlie Brown Christmas premiered in 1965 after a severe crunch period for the animators working on the film, 6 months to be exact. This obviously resulted in a lot of choppiness, inconsistent depictions, and discoloration. They believed they had single-handedly killed Charlie Brown because of the numerous animation errors and assumed the special would just be lost to time, as CBS only aired the special once since it was met with such disapproval behind the scenes.
There will never be a Christmas like this, as long as you promise to celebrate with them. Promise?
But the special did not kill Charlie Brown. No, it only made him stronger. It was the first ever long-form Peanuts TV special, and only existed because Coca-Cola wanted to sponsor a film based on the extremely popular characters from the comics. The version readily available to watch now on Apple TV and even just on DVD excludes any references to this landmark sponsorship, as well as corrects coloring and adjusts some more obvious animation errors and adds a bit more music to where there was none in the original. The team could have easily gone in and corrected every little detail, complicated the basic but expressive emotions on their faces, smoothed over every line on the dumpy character models, and sharpened the backgrounds. But they didn't. There isn't really any charm lost from the original version to the version you have no doubt seen and are seeing clips from now. Maybe I'll get lucky and I'll have a boomer tell me differently in the comments, but I have always thought that A Charlie Brown Christmas captures the intangible feeling of the Christmas spirit better than anything else, and I say this is a staunch The Santa Claus defender. Part of this feeling to me is the texture imbued in the art. Peanuts was famously a comic strip with flat characters, so animating them was brand new. Translating these characters to animation, though extremely simple designs, proved a challenge to the animators working on the film. That, plus the insane crunch time they were put under, resulted in models clipping through setting assets, inconsistent renders, and sloppy movement animations. But this is not an indictment of the animation, it is a testament to the creative team. These hitches and glitches only add to the idea to the imperfect nature of the holiday season. I'm not an idiot, I know this wasn't intentional, but part of the beauty of art is that while the work more or less stays the same, the world around it changes, as do the people consuming it. So from my point of view, the mistakes help the special feel more comforting. There's something almost handmade about it, and it's not just the fact that it was hand-drawn either. You can see the brush strokes in the background, the muted colors of the set pieces, the sketchy crayon outlines of the characters, and the limited movement of the camera. As the special makes a point of saying, the holiday season is exceptionally commercial, but the tactile nature of the animation itself almost makes you forget this whole special only exists because of Coca-Cola. Why did I say it like that?
A Charlie Brown Christmas has been sponsored by the people who bring you delicious, refreshing Coca-Cola and invite you to have a Coke and a smile.
And while it's easy to look at that and go, okay, Never mind. This bald kid. I think it adds an extra level of irony that has essentially been lost to time because of licensing agreements and potential residual fees. What A Charlie Brown Christmas aimed to do was parody the most circulated Christmas film of the time, A Miracle on 34th Street, and other feel-good holiday movies that hinge their success on Santa Claus, shopping at Macy's, individualism disguised as charity, and delirious comfort and joy. Comfort and joy. Rather than forcing a bright color palette propped up by traditional Christmas paraphernalia and a sickeningly sweet commitment to the whimsy of the holiday, Charlie Brown's frown only upturns in the last 2 minutes of the special. These deliberate choices from the creators behind the film captured the authentic feeling of Christmas. It isn't all joy, love, and carols for everybody, and it's okay to sit in that. But before I get too deep into the writing of these characters, let's do a quick little recap of the main plot points of the story since there aren't that many, and on paper it really is a simple, kind of meandering story. We open on the Peanuts kids ice skating while Linus and Charlie Brown lag behind. Charlie Brown explains that he doesn't understand Christmas and ends up feeling depressed as a result, which Linus essentially says, "Damn, that sucks, be safe."
Of all the Charlie Browns in the world, you're the Charlie Browniest.
After being sabotaged by Snoopy on the ice, Charlie Brown crashes into a tree and the title card comes up. Charlie Brown continues to question his friends about the meaning of the holiday since he doesn't need a holiday to know that everybody can't stand them. Lucy, acting as a psychiatrist here, The doctor is real in doctor is what the f. Lucy tells him that he must have a deep-rooted fear of some kind, but settles on the solution that all he needs is a Christmas activity to busy himself with, like directing the play all the kids are putting on. Agreeing to this but dissatisfied with Lucy's prognosis, he hopes to confide in his sister, but discovers she and Snoopy have gone commercial too. Charlie Brown arrives to direct the Christmas play, but no one's listening to him on the account of him being a bald asshole, so he decides to go out and buy a Christmas tree for the set. He takes Linus with him and they sit along this iconic, pathetic little tree. When everybody dogs on him for his choice, he gives a firm Kubrick stare to camera before Linus delivers what he assures Charlie Brown is the true meaning of Christmas. Spoiler alert, it is a Bible verse. We'll get into it. The auditorium quiets and Charlie Brown picks up his weak little tree and carries it off stage. Feeling sated by the first real answer he's got all day, he attempts to decorate the tree by using Snoopy's ornaments adorning his doghouse, but the weight of the ball pulls the tree to the ground, so he does his classic Charlie Brown walk and seemingly gives up. But the rest of the Peanuts gang sees the tree, gives it support, and decorate it the best they can and come together to sing Hark the Herald Angels Sing, with Charlie Brown all encircling the tiny tree, no longer looking so pathetic. Charlie Brown and the gang don't use language typical of kids, that much is a given. They have their own unique way of talking to one another that is faithful to kid logic.
If we can find out what you're afraid of, we can label it. Are you afraid of responsibility? If you are, then you have hypengiophobia. I don't think that's quite it.
Part of this is due to the fact that these are real kids voicing these characters, and untrained actors at that, apart from Charlie Brown and Linus. This is why the voice lines feel imperfect. There was no expectations there because of childhood stardom. They were just encouraged to be themselves. This did mean, however, that the directors had to feed the kids lines bit by bit so that they would remember them, which is why the dialogue has sort of a sing-songy nature to it. So on top of using big words and discussing big topics, there's this musical quality to how this gang converses.
All I want is what I have coming to me. All I want is my fair share.
I think that's why a lot of older generations find this special really funny and endearing, and while it is both of those things, I think what gets overlooked is that while the actual words that Charlie Brown and his friends are using can be well above their reading level, the logic applied by these characters is still full of childlike wonder. Like, of course, the second grader has preferences about what snowflakes taste best. I remember convincing myself that the green M&M tasted best because she was the only one who was a woman. So. Wait. I think a lot of people find Charlie Brown talking about depression and commercialism funny because on a macro level, kids don't understand what that means. But I disagree. Kids can experience profound sadness. Kids know what it feels like to be told they can't have a game or a toy because their parents can't afford it that year. A Charlie Brown Christmas doesn't put itself on a pedestal and talk down to its audience. It accounts for kids' emotional intelligence. It accounts for adults watching who have no doubt felt like Charlie Brown around this time of year. The special isn't afraid to shy away from these these topics, which has given it the staying power that it has. Seasonal depression, commercialism, existentialism, and religion weren't going away by the 60s end. There's really only 2 times in the entire script that I feel it dates itself, and it's when Lucy is dogging on Beethoven because he hasn't been on a bubblegum card.
He never got his picture on bubblegum cards, did he? Have you ever seen his picture on a bubblegum card? How can you say someone is great who's never had his picture on bubblegum cards? Good grief.
What the f is a bubblegum card? So basically like a Pokemon card with popular figures in the culture, got it? And then it comes with a little strip of gum. Ugh. God! This gum looks foul, rancid. It looks like sandpaper. Boomers, Gen Xers, please sound off, wasn't worth it. And then at another point, Lucy says that Christmas is being run by a big Eastern syndicate.
It's run by a big Eastern syndicate, you know.
McCarthyism moment, methinks. But there's a lot of jokes here that do land to a modern audience, in my opinion, like when Lucy introduces Charlie Brown as the director, and everybody begrudgingly claps, and then Snoopy just boos.
Here's our director. Man's best friend.
Or when Lucy tells Linus that there's 5 good reasons to listen to her.
Those are good reasons.
Or when these random kids are just haters for no reason and Charlie Brown just takes it. After being shown the film for the first time, the executives at CBS suggested adding a laugh track because they found the overall pace of the film to be off-putting. Well, let's just take a look at what that would look like.
Can you be a sheep? How about a cow? How about a penguin? Yes, he's even a good penguin. No.
Of course it sucks. A laugh track would dumb the whole thing down. The characters and dialogue wouldn't be as believable or natural, and that's because another thing that A Charlie Brown Christmas does exceptionally well is stillness. Moments without dialogue. Letting little tableaus of the characters just exist, like throwing snowballs at this can, which no one can do. These poor kids. They didn't have Fortnite, so none of them can aim. They catch snowflakes on their tongues, they dance, they decorate, they take time to let the kids be kids without having them comment on it. These moments just feel like winter break incarnate. Swaddled in big jackets and hats, playing with your friends in the snow, anticipation building for Christmas and what presents you're gonna get. These moments allow the stellar jazz music to shine through, thereby creating a unique wintry soundtrack. It transcends background music. Conversely, there are a few moments unaccompanied by the Vince Guaraldi trio, which really makes you focus on what these little guys are saying. When Lucy confesses that she has felt the same way as Charlie Brown about Christmas, it feels like they might actually have a heart-to-heart, like Charlie Brown will be offered some kindness for once in his damn bald life. But she reveals that she gets depressed because she never gets what she really wants for Christmas, which is of course real estate. Okay, Dave Ramsey. Maybe this is why boomers think a house costs $10. They actually were grinding it out since they were 8. The climax of the special is another one of these examples. When Linus recites Luke 2:8-14 in this Kubrick-esque school auditorium, the music cuts out and there's a single spotlight on him to emphasize the meaning of Christmas. First of all, what the hell, Linus?
I can't memorize something like this so quickly. Why should I be put through such agony?
I thought you couldn't possibly memorize the school play script, and here you are reciting several verses from the Bible. Second of all, if you don't have any attachment to this movie or any nostalgia for it, then you may be checked out right now, and I get it. From a modern perspective, Christian messaging in media is everywhere. Ads during the Super Bowl, Man of Steel, especially during this time of year. You remember the whole Starbucks red cup debacle about keeping the Christ on Christmas?
Told them my name is Merry Christmas. So guess what? Starbucks. I tricked you into putting Merry Christmas on your cup.
Straight up, one year I was working in the deli at my local grocery store and I handed this guy his pound of ham that he asked for. And I say, "Thank you so much, sir. Have a great night. Happy holidays." And he says, and I quote, "Around here, we say Merry Christmas." He stomached me. I didn't have a response for that. I live in Pennsylvania. What are you talking about? Charles Shulz, the creator of Peanuts, was a devout Christian. So Schultz's intention was not an anti-capitalist one by any means, as I've been reading it this entire time. The critiques of commercialism were actually akin to the ham guy from the deli who told me that Merry Christmas is what they say around here. But Kay, if this special is actually about the Bible and not some universal truth about the holiday season, why are you yapping? I think organized religion provides a safe space for like-minded people to convene and feel seen and heard. The truth of the matter is that this type of community exists outside of the church. Online spaces dedicated to other pertinent parts of identity, even concerts can spur the same sense of belonging. When the creators of the special presented the final piece to the executives, they hated the Bible verse reading, and the co-creators were extremely iffy about it as well. They thought it was sacrilege that such sacred scriptures should not be tied to something considered low art like comics. So Shulz was actually doing something boundary breaking here, and that's why I find this fascinating. In the nearly 60 years since its original premiere, this concept of integrating Bible teachings in popular media has completely flipped on its head. I remember in 3rd grade, I really loved my teacher and I wanted to get her something, but I didn't have any money on account of being in 3rd grade. I wasn't like Lucy. And so I made this little book where I talked about the meaning of Christmas, where on every page I explored what the holiday was all about. There was a page about throwing snowballs and building snowmen, one about getting presents, one about the birth of Jesus Christ. But then I decided to end the book by saying that the real meaning of Christmas is the Eagles playing the Christmas Day game. This is all to say, I do not think this one scene ruins the movie. Not only is this something that kids raised in a religious home do think about, but the cultural relevance at the time here is notable, and from a leftist perspective, all Charlie Brown is seeking here is community bond. And Linus is offering a reassuring piece of that promise. You know, nobody says God rocks afterwards. Peanuts God doesn't descend from the heavens. And what ultimately affirms this analysis for me is that Charlie Brown does try to reclaim this holiday for himself and ultimately fails. He can't do it on his own. The heavy ornament weighs down the tiny branch of the tree, but his community is there to lift him up, and they're resourceful enough to decorate the tree that they initially rejected. Ultimately, Charles Shulz's own special proves that church isn't the only viable way to foster community. Personally, if I was Charlie Brown, I wouldn't take the disrespect. I don't think I could sing a hymn with all these fakes. Let's just say that the bitch in the orange will be listening to Reason. 5 reasons, that is. But on the topic of Charlie Brown himself, I think it's easy to call him a Grinch, but he's entirely unselfish. He doesn't outright reject Christmas, just the commercialization of it. He's just expressing dissatisfaction with the holiday because of societal expectations on how to feel. The holidays can be hard. Sometimes it's the first holiday without a loved one. Sometimes you can't afford to buy people in your life the presents you want to. Sometimes you can't go home. Sometimes home isn't an option at all. And sometimes it's an unplaceable, elusive sadness. A Charlie Brown Christmas, though not acknowledging those aspects by name directly, allows you to feel the melancholia and bittersweetness that are a natural part of the holiday season. With so much pressure to feel a certain way, it can result in the opposite. It can be really isolating to feel like everybody else is experiencing a universal thing and you're not. But what makes this time of year so special is spending it with those you love, eating, drinking, laughing, keeping and making traditions, playing games, not having to worry about work or school, and singing Christmas songs. Perhaps even more than the special itself, the soundtrack composed by the Vince Guaraldi Trio persists in the mainstream today. So much so that the only jazz album to ever outsell A Charlie Brown Christmas is Miles Davis's Kind of Blue. And on a niche micro level, there actually seems to be a lot more analyses about the soundtrack on YouTube than there are about the scripted content, which is why I want to spend a bulk of my video talking about the script and animation. But I would be an insane person to not at least touch on what makes this soundtrack one for the ages. The executives hated the jazz, but Charles Shulz insisted. Jazz as a genre, in truth, was still seen as too black for broad commercial audiences that CBS was after. The music of Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Wes Montgomery, Sun Ra, and Herbie Hancock were at the forefront of the genre during the 60s, and permeated the airways to the point to where white America was no longer able to ignore the potency and power of jazz. He refused to dumb down the special in order to elevate the animation and its messaging. The Vince Guaraldi Trio were all white musicians, which certainly aided the public perception around jazz once A Charlie Brown Christmas released. Many of the songs on this record are down-tempo instrumental tracks that specifically lived to underscore certain scenes in the special. They weren't randomly tacked on pieces. There was care and creativity put into each track, because there wasn't an ulterior motive to sell records. The few songs that do feature vocal performances aren't perfect. It's a genuine children's church choir that isn't refined in any way. It's harsh and shrill at sometimes. You can hear that certain notes begin and end at different times. Hark the herald angels sing.
Christmas time is here. Happiness and cheer, fun for all that children call their favorite time of year.
My point is that I don't need a degree in music theory to know why this music complements the script so flawlessly. Evoking attributes of the holiday by playing instruments certain ways, like light back and forth taps on the piano keys to mimic snow falling, descending on the piano to play Charlie Brown off screen when he has his head down, accompanied by gentle, longing percussion, to emphasize his loneliness. The song that plays when Charlie Brown and Linus are perusing the trees is full of hope. It's particularly up-tempo in comparison to the rest of the soundtrack to mimic the bright, gaudy aluminum trees for sale. The musical choices are made with intent and it shows. The music can stand on its own because it's just good music, but to me, it is inextricably linked to the feeling of Christmas. What's crazy is that I didn't even grow up watching this over and over again or anything. The Christmas movies I had in heavy rotation were like Elf, the Rankin Bass Christmas movies, the Santa Claus. I knew the music, of course, and I saw it a few times, but it really didn't enter my annual holiday watches until recent years. Maybe it's just growing up and viewing Christmas from a different perspective now, but A Charlie Brown Christmas addresses taboo topics in an accessible way that allows it to be timeless, accompanied by a banger soundtrack and charming animation. What's not to like? And while you can write it off for being religious or hypocritical, imagine if the CBS executives had gotten the film that they wanted. Laugh tracks, pop music, adult voice actors, and no discussion of commercialism? Well, I don't think I would be making a video about a movie like that. Candid conversations about the nuances of the holiday season deserve to have a place in the culture, and it has one with A Charlie Brown Christmas. Congratulations, you have made it to the end of the video, which means you get to play Find the Funnelkaek. Leave a comment down below when you find it, but don't tell anybody where it is. Thank you for watching and liking this video. For every like, I will be giving you 5 likes. Wow. Like this. Take care of yourself, come again real soon, and no matter where you are right now or who you're spending this time with, I just want you to remember, subscribe.